guys, so one of the questions I get asked a lot is weekday meals. What do you make when you're in a hurry? Well, it's not a weekday today, it's actually Sunday, but you know, we've got a lot going on and I just want something that's fairly quick, but it still tastes good that my kids will eat. So tonight I'm going to be making a quick and easy meat pie. Now, disclaimer, these are not negative meat pies. These are just a very simplified meat pie, but something that we like, it's something my kids like, and so I thought I would share it with you. Now, this is one of my own put together recipes. I will put it at the end of the video, so make sure that if you're interested, you can pause the video at the end and there'll be a clip there with the recipe for you and then the steps. So we're going to start by talking about ingredients. Okay, so ingredients for the meat pies. You're going to need 1 roll of sausage. Now we're using a Jimmy Dean reduced fat sausage. This happens to be the one my family likes. You can use whatever type you prefer. I have 1/4 cup of green onions. I have garlic. We're going to use about 2 teaspoons. I have a 1/2 cup of diced green bell pepper. We're going to put in a pinch of cayenne, a little bit of black pepper, some salt, 2 tablespoons of flour just to thicken things up toward the end, and lastly a pre-made pie crust. Now typically I'd make my own pie crust, but again, this is a fast and easy version. I'm in a hurry. We have some things to do later tonight, so I'm going to go with a pre-made pie crust. So those are our ingredients, and we're going to get started. Okay, so what we have here is my cast iron skillet. I put a little bit of olive oil in the bottom just to help the sausage not stick. This is a reduced fat sausage we're using tonight, and because of that I don't want it sticking in my pan. I put my sausage in and I'm just going to start breaking it up with my spatula. It's not hot yet, so I can actually, you know, use my fingers to help break it up a little bit. And then we're just going to brown this off. When it gets about halfway done, we're going to start adding in our other ingredients so that they have time for the flavors to meld and really blend and marry pretty well. Alright, as you can see, the sausage is about halfway cooked off. So now we're going to start adding in some of our vegetables. We're going to start with the bell pepper. Now this is bell pepper that I didn't use all of it the first time I needed it, so I diced it up and I threw it in my freezer in a Ziploc, and now I've got it when I need it. I tend to do this with bell peppers, onions. You know, I don't need all of it every time I cook, but I don't want it to go to waste. And so I'll just throw it in the freezer, and then I can pull it out whenever I'm making a soup, a stew, meat pie, whatever I need it for. It's there. And it does save me quite a bit of money to do this. If you like a lot of bell pepper, maybe you're going to want to buy one and put the whole thing in. For us, we're not huge on bell pepper. We like the flavor, but we don't necessarily want a whole bunch of bell pepper in this particular dish. So we're just going to let that cook a little bit. The bell pepper's going to take a little while to cook and get soft, and so that's going to happen while the sausage is finishing browning. And then right at the very end, we're going to add in our green onion and our garlic. And this is green onion. Again, I didn't eat it all. I just diced it up, froze it, and now I'll have it at the end. But I want to add it at the very end to this dish. I don't want to cook it too long. It will lose a lot of its flavor. So this is browning up very nicely, and you want a little bit of this liquid here. We're going to use that in combination with the flour to thicken this up. It's going to work together to make a roux as we're working with this. And you want that in your meat pie filling. You don't want it to be just loose. You want to have some way to bind it together, and that's what our flour is going to do. By making the roux, it's just going to hold it all together, which is a really great addition and adds an extra flavor component to the dish. So I'm going to start with the green onion and the garlic. It's going to go in. Scrape it all in there. Don't want to lose any of it. We're just going to give that a toss. And we're going to let that do its thing for a little while. You don't want to add garlic too early. Garlic burns very easily, and I just want it to have a nice garlic flavor, but I don't want it to get bitter. So we're going to add that more at the end than anything else. We're going to add just a little sprinkle of black pepper. We're going to add a little sprinkle of salt. We're not big salt people here, so I don't add a whole lot. And then on the cayenne, it is literally going to be just a pinch. We don't want this to be super hot, and cayenne has a tendency to do that. So just a pinch, just enough to really perk up those flavors. And now that all of our vegetables and everything have been added, we're going to drop in our flour. Now I have 2 tablespoons here. May not take all of it, but I think it's going to. We're just going to stir this in, and the flour is going to swell once it hits that the fat that's in the bottom and the moisture that's cooking out of our vegetables, and that's nice. So it didn't take all of it. It took about 1.5 tablespoons of flour, and you'll just see it just thickened it up. And what we're going to do here is we're just going to cook this for a second. I want to cook out that flour taste. I don't want it to taste like flour. And so we're just going to give it a second, let it cook, and let it get nice and kind of creamy. And that is our meat pie filling. So as you can see, it didn't take us very long to do this. All in all, it maybe took 10 minutes for everything. And that included talking about our ingredients. We're going to turn this heat off. We're going to move this off of the flame. And then I'm going to set up to show you how to cut your rounds of dough. So I'll see you in a minute. Okay, so we're going to get ready to work with our crust. And what I have here is a store-bought pie crust. They've been sitting out at room temperature for about 30 minutes while I worked on the filling. I'm just going to unroll this, flip it over so that it lays nice and smooth. And I have here just a standard bowl. And what I'm going to do is just kind of get it as close to the edge as I can. And I'm going to press down a little bit and just mark it with my bowl. And I'm going to do that a couple of times. I can get 2 out of this. I think I can get 3 out of this particular piece of dough. And then what I'm going to do is, I can get 2 for now. Then I'm going to just work it back together, and I'm going to roll this back out. And when we're done, I'll show you how I'm going to fill them. So I'll be back in a little bit. Alright, so as you can see, I rolled out my pie crust. I got 4 out of the first pie crust, which means that I'll be able to get 4 out of the next one. That'll give me a total of 8, which is plenty for our family. And so I'm going to show you how we're going to fill these. It's very simple. Okay, so what I've got here is I have a small bowl of water, I have a fork, and I have my filling, which I'm going to move over to the burner. I'm going to take my pie crust. I'm just going to kind of flatten it out just a little bit. And I'm going to take a spoon of the filling. And we're just going to place that along 1/2 of the pie crust. Not too much. You don't want to overfill these. But I do want to make sure that there's plenty of filling in there. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to wet my fingers in the bowl, and I'm just going to run it around the outside edges of the dough. And what this is going to do is it's going to allow it to seal. Now this one's kind of thick. I'm going to have to stretch it probably just a little bit, but I'm going to stretch it. I'm going to make sure that the edges are clear of filling, making sure that I just kind of shove that filling back in there so that the bread edges meet. And then what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this fork, I'm going to dip it in the water, and I'm just going to go around the edges, and I'm just going to use the fork to seal those edges. Now, again, these are not Natchitoches meat pies, per se. These are my own version, but we do like them. So I've done one side, I'm going to flip it over, and I'm actually going to crimp both sides. And what this does is it just seals it down. It makes sure it doesn't bust open in the cooking process. And so there you have it, one completed meat pie. This is going to go on a baking sheet that's lined with parchment, and then I will be putting these in the oven. So in just a few minutes I will show you a completed tray of these, and then we'll be getting ready to put them in the oven. Alright guys, so the meat pies are finished. They're all in my pan. They're going to go in the oven at 350 for about 20 to 25 minutes, and I'll show you a shot when it's done.